Welcome back to Ear Training for the Working Musician. Today we're going to be on page 29. We'll start out today with the interval identification and notation. We've been doing this the whole entire unit. The only two intervals you have are a minor sixth and a major sixth. So similar to the exams I give in my classes, this will have 5 intervals. So this is almost like a practice exam before the practice exam. Let's give this a try. We're starting with bass clef D flat. So we had here to here. So let's see if we can fit solfege. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, do, la. So do to la is a major sixth. If we're starting on a D flat in bass clef, we'll put that up to a B flat. All right, the next one we'll begin with alto clef, starting on an A. Here to here, let's see if we can fit that same solfege. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, do, la. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So do to la is going to be a minor sixth. So if we're starting on A in alto clef, we end up on an F. You think the key of A minor, we would have F naturals, so it works. Next, we'll have treble clef E. Okay, so we have here to here. So if we started here, we'd go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, la, do, do, la. So that ends up being a major sixth. If we descend a major sixth from E, we end up on G, and you can check your work by thinking of the lowest pitch and the key. So if it's G as the lowest pitch, we would be thinking of the key of G major. That only has one sharp, it would be F, so this would not be affected by that. All right, the fourth one starts with tenor clef, C sharp. Here to here, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. That's another major sixth example. La, do, la. So we would have an E for that, low pitch. And again, check your work, because if you think of the major key of E, we would end up with a C sharp in that key, and so that works out perfectly. All right, the last one will be bass clef C. So here to here, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. That doesn't fit. Do to here, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Okay, so if it outlines do to la, or you could also think do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi. And if we descend down to a mi from do, that actually is also a minor sixth. Minor sixth is the answer. We're starting on a C, we descend down to an E, thinking Thinking of the lowest key of E minor, we only would have one sharp, and C would not be a part of that. Neither would E, so we would leave both of those as natural. Okay, going on to the compound meter rhythmic notation. So we've obviously been doing a lot of dotted rhythms followed by 16th notes in compound meters, as well as we started out with 3/8, but a reminder that 3/8 can almost be considered a compound single. One lolly, one lolly, one lolly. But in this case, we're at compound duple. What you'll do is notate the rhythms in the spaces provided using dotted quarter notes, dotted eighth notes, 16th notes, rests, and ties. So I'll play this like I do for the exam, where I'm just going to play it through 7 times total, and then we'll talk about it. But what I give you is a dotted eighth note to start, and then we end with a dotted quarter note. So the last measure still needs half the amount of beats to fill it. The first measure needs a lot more than that. It's pitchless, just a reminder, you're just dealing with the note value. Here's the first playthrough. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. Here it is again. 1, lolly, 2, set, go. One, 2, 3, ready, set, go. Here's the 4th time through. This time, see if you can count to 6 as I play it, so subdivide. 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's the 5th. 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. Here it is the 6th time. 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go. And here's the last time. 1, lolly, 2, set, go. Okay, let's see if you can clap along with me as we do it. Ready, set, go. Okay, if you didn't align with me, go back and listen to this a couple more times just to really solidify it. But if you did, let's talk about it. All right, so our first measure you start with this dotted eighth. You can kind of use deductive reasoning, at least for this course. If I give you a dotted eighth note, it's probably going to be followed by a 16th note because that's the unit. That's what we're talking about. So but we did have that because we had 1, 2, and 3. These would be beamed together so that this is our first group out of 2. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we had 4, 5, 6. So this is an 8th note. This will be by itself since it's followed by a quarter note. 4, 5, 6. All right, then the beginning of the next measure started the same way as the first measure. So we had that dotted eighth, 16th, eighth, so that 1, 2, and 3. And then you had 4, 5, 6. Sorry, it's morning. And this one is going to be tied and held over into the next bar. Bar 3, we come in on beat 2, or the law of 1. And then you hold the 2, lolly, so that ends up being a dotted quarter. There is a clear moment of rest for 2 beats. You could also, if you wanted to really showcase your 8th note subdivisions, put 2 8th rests, but a quarter rest also works just fine. Then we come in on the Lee of 1, or the 3rd 8th note, and finish out with the dotted quarter note that I give you. That's the whole rhythm, okay? Let's go ahead and try the compound meter melodic notation. This is our first time experiencing notating compound triple. So we'll be dealing with 9/8 in this example. Just a reminder, the beat that gets the note is the dotted quarter note for this. So you would have 3 dotted quarter notes in order to show the compound triple. This is in bass clef, in the key of E flat major. We start on tonic with a dotted quarter. And then we end with a dotted half note on tonic as well. Here's the key. The first measure still needs 2 dotted quarter notes worth, and then the last measure still needs 1 dotted quarter notes worth. Okay, we're starting on do. Here's your tempo. 1, lolly, 2, lolly, 3, set, go. One, lolly, 2, lolly, 3, set, go. This is the 3rd time through. Try to see if you can subdivide this time, counting to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, set, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's the 4th time. 1, lolly, 2, lolly, 3, set, go. Here it is the 5th time. 1, lolly, 2, lolly, 3, set, go. We'll have 2 more times. 1, lolly, 2, lolly. 3, set, go. Okay, here's the last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, set, go. Okay, let's discuss this. So we had this for the first 3 beats. So here to here, ba ba, do re mi fa sol la. Up to la, same note value, dotted quarter note. We had do, la, here, then here, ba da dum. So there's that dotted rhythm, the dotted 8th, 16th, 8th. And this is just stepping down from the la, because you do, la, sol, fa, mi, which would be the dotted 16th followed by an 8th. So dotted 8th, 16th note followed by an 8th. Da, da, dum. It's the same starting pitch as bar 1. Da, da, ba, bum, bum. So we started on do. Bar 2 just has a whole bunch of dotted quarter notes. So we had this do to then here, ba, bum, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi. Okay, so if we're going all the way down to mi, do, mi. And then we add this one, mi, fa, sol. This will be tied into bar 3. So we had this do, mi, sol, which is really just the arpeggiation of a 1 chord in first inversion. Do, mi, sol, do, mi, sol, do, mi, sol. Okay, so then sol, la, ti, do. This comes in on the 2nd 8th note. La, ti. These will all need to be beamed together for the first group of 8th notes. La, ti. And then we had this da, 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 do. To here, do, re, mi, fa, sol. So we had this do, sol. To here, do, sol, mi, sol, fa, mi. So we had this do, mi, sol, la, ti, do, sol, mi. And then we ended up on re to finish out the measure for a dotted quarter note's worth. The rest of these are just 8ths. Then the beginning of measure 4 is just silence. 3/8 notes worth. Okay, let's try singing this on solfege in whatever octave feels best for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready, set, go. Do, la, sol, fa, mi. Do, mi, sol, la, ti, do, sol, mi, re, do. Okay, let's go ahead and give this triad identification and notation a try next. This is just the same stuff we've been doing. So we're dealing with our major and minor triads in root position, first inversion and second inversion. What you'll do is I give you the lowest pitch and you'll notate the rest of the chord, then specify what type of chord it is using slash chord notation. All right, so this first one, we're starting on G in treble clef. Here's that G. So we have here to here, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. For the outer notes, it's a major sixth. Do to la. Now we just have to find that middle note, which is this. So how far away is it from the bottom? If this is our bottom and this is that middle. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's a third away from the bottom. G to E is a major sixth for the outer notes. And we had that third occurring in the middle. These are all going to be white notes. Because if you added like a B flat to the middle of this would make it diminished, okay? And so the white notes are what we need in order to make sure that it just stays major or minor. So in this case, we take the top note of the perfect fourth, which is an E. And so you would call this an E minor. So we'd write capital E with a minus or lowercase m slash G. We're saying it's an E minor triad, but the lowest note is a G. Here's the next one. B flat. So it's the B flat below middle C, and here's the high note. So here to here, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, major sixth. So we have B flat, a major sixth above B flat puts us at G. Now we just need to find that middle note. Da, here, ba, ba. From the top it would go 1, 2, 3. So it's a third below the top. This will be an E flat. So then our top note of this perfect interval here puts us at E flat. It's a major triad, but the lowest note is B flat. So we put slash B flat. All right, the next one, I give you an A. So we had here to here, do, re, mi, fa, sol. Okay, so it's actually just a fifth for the outer pitches. And now let's see if it's major versus minor. Do, re, mi, fa, sol compared to do, re, mi, fa, sol. So the may works better in this case. We could say capital A, lowercase m, or you could do capital A with a minus. And that's it. Since it's root position, that's all we need. All right, now I give you a middle C. So here's the middle C. Here's the top. So we go do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Okay, that actually works. So do to la, C to A for the outers. Our middle note, we just need to find whether or not it's the fourth away from the bottom or third away from the bottom. So here's our low, high. Here's the middle. So here's the low, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's a perfect fourth away from the bottom pitch. And then that gives us the perfect fourth. The top note of the perfect fourth is an F. So this is an F major chord. So we put capital F / C because the lowest note of the chord is a C. All right, the next one and the last one of the treble clef set is a D sharp. So we adhere to here, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Okay, so we do to la. So if we're thinking of the key of D sharp, that'd be horrible, but we'll think about it. We would have a B natural for the minor version of the key, okay? So now we just need to find that middle note. Ba, 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 1, 2, 3, do, re, mi. So it's a minor third between the bottom two pitches. So we'd have an F sharp as the middle note. That tells us the perfect fourth is going to be with the top note and the middle note. So the top note tells us the root of the chord. This is going to be a B major chord. So we just say it's a B major chord by writing a capital B. We put / D sharp. So it's a B major chord, but the lowest note is a D sharp. All right, let's go on to bass clef. And even though I have another line, I'm just going to erase it so it doesn't get so cluttered. Bass clef, I'm going to give you an F sharp to start. So here's that F sharp. Okay, here we go. So we have here to here for the outer notes. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So it's a minor sixth for the outer notes. So we have F sharp up a minor sixth would put us actually at D natural. You think the key of F sharp minor is the same as A major, and D's would be natural in that case. So we just need to find the middle note. The other way to find the middle note, besides just counting and figuring it out, is also listening for the timbre. Does this chord sound major or minor to you? Because depending on what you say, it will make a difference to what the middle note is. Because if it's a major chord, if it sounds joyous and uplifting, then our middle note in this case would be an A, because that would build a D chord. If the chord is minor sounding, which to me it is, and that's the right answer, the middle note would then be a B, because then that builds a B minor triad. So we would call this a capital B, lowercase m, / F sharp. Here's our second one of the bass clef. We'll begin with an E flat. Here's the E flat. Here's the chord. So we had the low notes to then the high. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So do to la is a major sixth. We think of E flat major. We would use C as the sixth scale degree. So similar thing, you can think, what does it sound major or minor to you? To me, this sounds kind of more sad. And so it's minor. So we would find the minor option. A would make this, or an A flat would make this an A flat major chord. So the G in the middle pitch makes this a C minor chord. This would be a C minor over E flat. Okay, the next one, we start with an F. Here's the F. Here's the chord. So we have the low note here, then this, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Okay, actually, do to la works, so that would be a major sixth for the outer notes. F to D is a major sixth. Now we just need to find, does it sound major or minor? To me, this one sounds brooding and dark again. So we have this da 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 compared to da da da. That's the other option, is a B flat, and in this case it's an A. So F A D compared to F B flat D to make a major chord. Okay, so here is, we would call this a D minor chord over F. Okay, here's an A flat as your low pitch. Here's the triad. So we have this low note and this high note, so do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Okay, that works. Major sixth for the outer pitch. A flat to F. And then you think, does this sound more happy or sad? To me, it sounds more uplifting. And so the uplifting note, the major note, would be a D flat in this case, compared to the minor note as a C. The C would make this an F minor chord over A flat, but the D flat would make this a D flat major chord over A flat. So we'd go D flat over A flat for this. All right, next, D. So here's the D. Here's the high, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Okay, that doesn't work. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Does. So do, if it was D, would go up to B flat for lay. You think of the key signature. For D minor, it's the same as F major, so B flat would be part of that. And then we think, does this sound uplifting or sad? Or dark versus light? To me, this sounds a little more uplifting. So we have F as the middle note. Just because if you had G as the middle note, then that would be a G minor chord. So in this case, this is a B flat major chord. So we call this B flat over D. That's it for the triad identification and notation. The next part is going to be four-part notation. The first time we did this, we were really just dealing with root position chords, but now we'll also deal with some inversions. The first example that I'll have you look at is going to be this grand staff in the key of C. We start with this chord. Bass begins on E, tenor on G, alto on E, and soprano on C. There's going to be 4 chords per progression. I give you the first. Your job is to notate the bass, tenor, alto, and soprano lines, as well as tell me the Roman numeral analysis below and the chord symbol analysis above. So here's the key. Here's us listening to the bass, starting on mi, mi, mi. Here we go. Here it is again with the bass emphasized. Bass line, ya da da da, mi, information yet to write the Roman numerals or the chord symbols, but let's go ahead and listen to the soprano. Soprano starts on do. Do, do. Here it is again. So we had this ya da 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 for the soprano line. It's like Ariel. Ya da 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 da. Okay, so do, re, mi, and we ended up on sol. Let's go ahead and listen to this alto line next. Alto begins on mi. Mi, here we go. Here it is again, alto. So we had mi to here, mi, fa, sol. We ended up on sol and stayed there, which this is a typical alto line, just boring and it doesn't really move around a lot. Okay, you could probably just like Sudoku and figure out the rest of the tenor, but let's go ahead and listen to it. Tenor starts on sol. Sol. Here's the tenor. Here it is again. Okay, so we had this sol, then to here, sol, la, ti, sol, ti, do, re, sol, ti, do, re. So now we have all the information. Let's do the Roman numeral analysis below. If we have E, G, E, C, that would be a C, E, G chord. So this would be a 1, 6. We have D, B, G, D. This is a 5 chord in second inversion. Second inversion chords are allowed in a few instances. We can have them in passing. So like a passing 6-4, which that's kind of what's going on here. We're bridging the gap between two notes. You could have them as an arpeggiating 6-4. You could also have them as cadential 6-4s, and this is also an example of a cadential 6-4 because we're setting up the cadence. I also forgot to mention that another one of your tasks is to also identify the type of cadence that is used. So be paying attention to that as well. So we had 5-6-4. This puts us C, C, G, E. Okay, so a 1 chord in root position. And then we ended up with a B, D, G, G. So G, B, D. This is a 5 chord in first inversion. Let's go ahead and now write the upper chords. So this is a C chord. So you write capital C / E, and that's all. This is a G chord, so you'd write capital G / D. This is a C chord, and it's in root position, so no slashes, and then this is a G chord, so G / B. The type of cadence used, so we have 1, 5, 1, 5. If it ends on a 5 chord, this is going to be a half cadence, right? So you could write HC, half cadence, in order to fill that line in the book. Let's go ahead and do this again, but now in a different key. This last example is going to be in the key of A minor. We start with this chord, A, E, C. Here's the key center. So for the purposes of this class, if you ever have a 5 chord, it's going to be a major chord in minor keys, okay? And so in order for this to have a major 5, you have to raise the leading tone. The leading tone in the key of A is going to be G sharp. So if you have any G's present in this, they're going to be raised. Let's listen to the bass line first. It's starting on this do. Here we go. do to here, do, te, lay. So we ended up on lay, do, lay. And then we had here, which that's that T, the raised leading tone, back to do. So that's that bass line, do, lay, ti, do. Let's listen now for this soprano line. Starting on me. Here it is again. So you have me, up a step to fall, then here, fa, me, re, back to me. So me, fa, re, me for the soprano line. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to alto next. Alto starts on sol. Sol, here we go. Here it is again. So we had sol up to here, which is just a step to lay, and then we went back down to sol, and then we stayed there. Here's the tenor line next. So tenor starts on do. Do. Here we go. Here it is again. So we had this do, do, re, do for tenor. All right, so now we can figure out the chords. A, E, C. This is going to be a 1 chord, lowercase because it's minor. Now we have F, A, F, D. So this would be D, F, A. So that would be a 4 chord in first inversion. So we call this 4/6. This is also lowercase. Then we have G sharp, B, E, B. This is a 5 chord and it's in first inversion. All right, and then we have A, E, C. This is a 1 chord. Root position. Let's write the chord symbols above. So we would call this a capital A with a minus or a lowercase m. It's root position, so that's all you need to write. For this one, we'd write capital D minus over F, because that's the low note. This one's a major chord, so we just call this an E / G sharp, since that's the lowest note. This one is a minor 1 chord, so another A minus. The cadence, let's look at this. So we have 5/1 for the cadence, but it's 5/6/1. Since this is in an inversion, that tells us this is going to be an imperfect authentic cadence, because in order for it to be a perfect authentic cadence, both chords need to be root position. So this is, we would call this an IAC. All right, that is it for today. The next video is going to basically be the practice exam that I give students before I give them the actual exam in my courses. So follow along for that. That's going to be Unit 4's practice exam. Then we'll have 2 units to follow. Nice work. Happy practicing.